Welcome back to GLAC Studios oil painting tutorial. This is Gomati Sevasankaran. We are in class 20 of the large canvas painting Radha Krishna. We are in layer 4. Let's quickly summarize what we have done so far. It was, 20 classes ago that we started with understanding canvases, doing a wash, the first layer, and understanding references, gridding, placing those grids here on the canvas, and plotting the images, the structures, superstructures. Then we moved on to the layer two, which was blocking, filling, just putting in colors here and there and saying this is what things are going to look like, kind of. That was a flat image, and now we are working on that flat image to bring it up into a possibly a good three-dimensional image, an image that is, appreciable. So that was layer three that started with what helped us in creating that, turning that flat image around was layer three. Layer three helped us, first of all, to set slightly depth. And now in layer 4, we are enhancing the depth even further and sort of giving more, personality to each and every aspect of the painting. We are in the last few classes, we have been working on Krishna's body, the skin tones, and Radha's body skin tone. We also started working on the clothing. So we have done quite a bit of clothing of Radha in the last class. That's what we did essentially in our last class. So this class is going to be a continuation of layer 4, obviously. We continue with the same effect that we created for Radha's sari on the dhoti or the kind of Indian pajama that Krishna is wearing. And also we haven't touched on this green color base. We will work on that as well. Do remember that the seat, the swing seat also needs to be worked on, so we'll have to work a little bit on that as well. uh, Once we are done with the clothing, we move on to the jewelry also. So let's see how far we can reach today with respect to these requirements that we have planned on. One thing we will do in terms of materials, let's look at the materials. It's all going to be very similar, nothing new as such. It's the for these colors, I think I will use the primary yellow and cadmium orange. And when we come to the green, we will, yeah, I will always use a little bit of vermilion here and there. You know me. Uh, so be ready for that. And for the greens, I will definitely go with olive green. Um, and maybe I will touch upon having earth green if needed, but mostly I think I will stick to olive green. The most important colors you have already seen me using is that I am mixing burnt umber with ivory black. Yeah, let's say, three parts. If it is three parts of burnt umber, this one or even half a part of ivory black. So that's how I try to create a blackish brown, and I always like to use it in some spaces to give the depth. You have already seen me using that, and you did see me using Prussian blue. I might stay away from that today because the yellow with Prussian blue sometimes it gives another color tonality, completely changing things. I might not want it, so I might not use it today, especially on the cloth. So if we manage to come that far and we go to the next step on working on the jewelry, we will definitely start with yellow ochre, and we will use titanium white. I think throughout the line, throughout the whole day, you will see that I'm using titanium white here and there. That you could expect. That's about the colors. Brushes are the same. The oil, the palette is all the same. Yeah, I think I'm mostly going to stick to this zero and micro brush, and I have two round brushes around. So that's going to be the materials. Yes, I think we are now ready to get started. Remember being hydrated, or, just like me, having a cup of tea. So enjoy the process. Welcome again to class 20. Let's get started. So I am taking a bit of titanium white because primary yellow, that's what I'm going to work here. Yeah, the primary yellow is a translucent color, and I would need titanium white. So I'm going to take a bit of that, keep it ready in my palette. I take primary yellow and cadmium orange and a little bit of vermilion, making it ready. Yeah, let's do that, and I will show you my palette. That's right there. Yes, so you can see more of my palette. You already see the titanium white. Let me put a little bit of cadmium orange here. Remember what I said about cadmium orange in the classes? Anything cadmium or anything that says oxide, be careful with it. If you want to wear a glove or something, that's also a good idea. Otherwise, remember to wash your hands properly. I mean, it's always a good habit to do all these things. Habit to do all these things. Doesn't matter, whether it's a oxide or a cadmium or such. It's always a good habit to maintain such things. It's just that you never know who is sensitive to these colors or sensitive to these pigments. So just be cautious with it. Yeah. All right. I'm looking for my vermilion, and I think I have it here. So I've got my colors ready. The camera also needs to be brought to the front, which is done now. So you can see better all the colors. Titanium white, cadmium orange to the last, primary yellow, and vermilion. Let's see how much of it we need and where. I am moving the camera now back to the positioning where we have Krishna's costume. We say pajama. I'm going to adjust it one more time to make sure that it's slightly closer to me and also you. Yeah, yes. And I will increase the height. I think for now it looks direct. Yeah, when needed, I will definitely increase the height. Let me take a round brush. Do we start with brush number 2 or 1? Yes, 1 goes well. The smaller the better. Yes. So I start with mixing titanium white and primary yellow and building a very light tonality. I'm not going to mix colors in my palette, so I'm not showing my palette again, because the more you learn to on the go work, it's a good idea that you are thinking directly, here. But if you still prefer that, you work out the colors and have them ready, it is perfectly all right. So right now I have moved on doing this primary yellow, one more coating. Look at the bright coloring that is coming. I'm using the previous, strokes. I want to keep them with me so I know where to go ahead and use those darker tonalities. So I'm just mixing them and placing them. So it's titanium white and primary yellow or lemon yellow. Yeah, going there, brightening up that space. Okay, let's do that for this. I'm going on filling in that. Okay, some more. Let's fill. Remember the direction. Keeping in view the direction. Yeah. So this is the cloth coming around like this. Yeah. The leg. It's like a pajama that is loosely tied. Yeah. It's exactly like the cloth that I showed that I showed for Radha when I was, trying to explain the sari. It's almost, a long, rectangular cloth, but that is worn in the form that it will turn into a pajama, something like that too. Just make it simpler. Yeah. Nowadays you get such ready-made things also, so it looks exactly like pajama. Um, and I don't have a sample of it. I don't wear it. It's basically menswear. So let's just stick to this. And I'm just working on this remaining space. I'm being careful when I come close to the clothing of Radha. We don't want to overshadow that here. We don't want to do anything here and blend up things on the wrong space. Yeah. So I'm going to push the camera slightly below. You get to see that I'm doing something similar only here. This titanium white and lemon yellow is just giving me a very light tonality, and it is slightly on the brighter side also. It's just, you can see that it's just flashy right now. Even though there isn't enough sunlight here, it is flashy on the camera, I can see. I want the characters to radiate at the end of it, so you will also see me when I work on the fifth layer of Radha sari. Also, we will do quite a bit of um, giving that radiance effect to their clothing as well. So I think I am done with the primary or lemon yellow color here. All right, now I move on to using my zero brush. I am going to take a bit of cadmium orange, add a bit of vermilion to it. So I just want the darkest version of cadmium orange, and I have it here. So it's up to you. If you do not have cadmium orange, if you want to work only with vermilion, that's also a good idea. It just gives another, type of shade. That's it. So no problem. So I'm just going on and filling in the other spaces that I left. So it looks like we are just filling, but we will very soon be, yeah, blending. Yes, very soon be blending them in as well. The sooner we blend, the better it is. So I am also blending it in right now. Can you see? So with the yellow, it's getting blended in. that space so it doesn't start looking like, so obvious a color, or a shade line there. So blending that in. Blending it in here. Taking some more of it, you just, go ahead and feel free applying the way you want to show. We will be blending one more tonality there, so, or bringing in one more darker tonality there. So just be aware of it. So it will get three-dimensional. Blend it in, bring it in. So I'm doing the same, continuing the same here. Now I want to highlight this space, bringing it in. Yes. Let's do the angle. It really helps that we did the, layer 3 with all these angles already. So we are just following that. If you haven't done such a thing in layer 3, you could still follow from the reference material. You see that I'm using less and less of the reference material. So this is where, we are trying to, yes, we have taken enough guidance from the reference. Let's try to use our logic as much as possible. And of course, there is a balance. If you feel you need to, and especially for ones who have never worked on such a clothing before, never worked on an Indian origin painting before, it you can definitely go ahead and use the reference fully, follow the reference fully, and do it completely following that. That's also a great idea. Yeah, so there is no stopping you on that. Nothing stopping you on that. Yeah. All right, so let's blend it in, blend it in, blend it in. You see how far the blending is coming? Now I'm going to take a bit more of the vermilion. And I want to use it on those sections, that I want it to be highlighted slightly more, darker, uh, a slight impactful stroke, bend, shadow. It's just up to you to build that in. So I'm just going on adding only in places where I see the need. I see the need especially in the thigh area, or the areas where it's just, the light is going to be less visible because of the fold. When the leg is folded like this, these corners are the ones that will be darker, isn't it? So I want to show that. Building onto that color range and blending them in again. So it gives another texture now. Yes. And all this will help in making our life much easier in layer 5. Yeah, so the more we can do in this layer, the next layer becomes slightly easier. All right, so that was done. I'm going to take a bit of burnt umber mixed with black, and go again on the contours that are, yes, completely invisible. Yeah, yes, let's do that. The burnt umber and black could give a slightly greenish shade, but just be aware of that when you are using them very, what do you call, in a minute level, then it wouldn't do too much harm to the color range. It will just help you create the depth. That's it. So keep to your zero brush just to be safe that you don't end up using too much of it here. Yeah. So I'm using that darker tonality here too. And also here on the sections, again, the ones that are possibly, missing the sunlight because of the fold on the leg. Yes. So blend it in. Blend it in. Good. All right. Blending it even more. Yes, I guess this blending is fair enough for me to stop and I can work on the other leg. I'm going to do the same thing on the other leg as well. I need my tea. Going back to the zero brush with cadmium orange mixed with a little bit of vermilion. So I'm going to do the same thing here. And remember that here there is another cloth. This is the what do you call, this is a part of the cloth that is covering on and that's around his hip line. Yeah, so there's another cloth on the top of the pajama. Yeah. I don't know how to explain this for those who have never worked on such a thing before. Just imagine all this Superman, Spider-Man, they wear an undergarment on top. So something like that to just make it light on the lighter note, but it's not that. It is slightly different, but you can imagine something like that that goes on top. Yeah. And it also has a middle section that is coming down here. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. I'm going to move the camera slightly here so you get to see this. Again, I also make the move on the knee line, making such strong moves here. I will use a I will blend them just shortly. Yes. So you've seen me using that. I'm going to blend that in. Let's blend it in. I am blending ever so lightly here because I want to show that, that's the inner thigh region. But when I blend it around here, I do a little more on the blending. Yes. I want to blend that color in here as much as possible in the knee area. Right. I think a little more blending is needed here. This is where, the angle is coming around, isn't it? So I want to make sure that it doesn't show too much. I'm making circular motions. Yeah. Just make sure that this yellow is taking on this color ever so lightly. Yeah. So, so I have moved the canvas up. You get to see this blending in of the colors. And this blending really takes practice, so that's also something that we can teach ourselves a little more when we do layer on layer on layer. So you will see that you are getting better and better, really faster with each layer. You feel a little more comfortable with the blending idea. And remember what we did when we were blending in the beginning, we were only blending a couple of color ranges, and then now we are blending 3 to 4 colors or color ranges. So see, we are slightly graduating into that. So it doesn't, you know, make us feel overwhelmed about this blending idea. So with practice, and what I have seen is that from watching people who are much better or way better than what I do, uh, is that they are so good with blending, and it's just the matter that they've put in so much of effort, so many hours of practice into it, and they have mastered the art of it. Yeah, so it's just a matter of practice that we keep on doing, and we just get better and better and better at it. Yes. So let's take on the direct vermilion. Where do you want to use it? Yes, I want to use it on the section where I know that it's going to be slightly darker because of the shade that is coming off Radha's leg. And just look at the angle. You want to maintain that angle. So this is the angle. Huh? I'm just drawing a stroke, which I shouldn't be doing, but I'm drawing a stroke to show you that this is the angle that I will reach out to make sure that it is slightly darker here. Blend it in. Right. Let's do a little bit more of that. The color itself changes, isn't it? Because of what we have done. Now I go back to the burnt umber range. Again, I go into that very same area ever so lightly. I'm going to fill it in first and then start blending in right away. Yeah. Yes. And then you start blending in right away. Be very cautious with it. Don't take too much of that color. You want to give that dark impact, but you don't want it to be totally, what do you call, pronounced. Too much visible. Subtly suggestive of the dark or depth. Right. So that's where we are. Let's look at the section that is close to his hip line here. I'm just blending them in also. Yeah. All right. I think we have managed fine so far. I'm not using too much of that um, brown here or the burnt umber here, but I'm just whatever is remaining in my brush, I'm just suggestively throwing them in here um, to just make sure that there is depth here. Yes. I don't see the need of taking a little bit more, so I'm just using whatever is there in my brush. And I think we managed fine with this now. So this is about, his clothing, and right now we have the greens to be covered. Let's take olive green. And to the olive green, I am going to mix that to the cadmium orange that we had and create a thicker format of olive green. In case you want to add, you can try adding a little bit of vermilion and see how that goes. So I have, no, I can show you what I'm doing here as well, isn't it? So if you see, I have just taken olive green and mixed this cadmium orange, and that's giving me a thicker and a slightly lighter format of olive green. And I like this kind of color range to be coming into this section of their clothing. Yeah. So right now I'm using that here. Filling that space in, I haven't, used another color. So I'm just filling the space in, and I'm doing that with just a zero brush because, it's just so little of a space that I don't need to think of another brush or something. I'm just going to work on with this. Filling out that space. Yes. So to this, we need depth. Yes. So for that, I guess I will move on to very simply the burnt umber black. Yes. Let's do that. Starting in the sections where, yes, there is shadow coming from Radha's body. Shadows thrown in because of the jewelry on the hip. That is it's a belt sort of a thing. So I'm just doing that. I'm not blending in yet. I'm going to do it in a short while. Shadow here. Shadows here. And this shadow also. And also remember this shadow line that is, coming up here. I think we have enough of the shadow lines. If we have too much on the zero brush, just like me, wiping off is a good idea before you want to blend. So I am blending it again. Blending it, and this, this burnt umber black is just giving us that nice bright green. It's so good. The way it's blending is just it's so naturally speaking to that color. Yes, let's do the blending here on the close to the thigh area. Fantastic. So we managed that. Can we use the same for Radha's blouse? Wiping off the brush to go back to that nice olive green. Throwing that in on her blouse. I'm just filling it in first. Yes. So I've just continued to fill that in on her blouse. Right. Fantastic. So we are done with this. Right now, I'm going to go back to the burnt umber mixed with ivory black. Yes, you know the contour lines right now, isn't it? That's where the shade is falling. The cloth on top of her body is creating that shade. Yes, and the armpit area, that has got the shade. Yes, cool. So we know those sections. Huh? Can we blend? Of course. Blend that in, blend that in. If you have excess in your brush, remove that. Otherwise, go ahead and blend it in nicely. These colors speak to each other so well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good. I guess we have managed that section now. Maybe I'll blend it in here a little bit. Yes. Now I want to add to this color range the primary yellow. And see, I will build a lighter tonality now, even lighter. I'm going to add a bit more of, this is even lighter, adding a bit more of the titanium white. So I'm going to take this brush, doing that. So I want it to be lighter here. So it looks like, the lightest version of olive green. I don't want it to look exactly like olive green because I want to use that olive green here on the on the leaves when it comes to that. So what we are going to work on with this color is the cushiony base of the swing. And that's very helpful, isn't it, if we have this lovely color. So it is on the greeny yellowy side and it's so light, it's also going to emote lightness. Remember I said that there is this, line that we need to remember to work with here. So right now we have filled in the color in all the spaces that is showing the base. And I remember this correction that we need to make. Let's do that also in a short while from now. So I have this done with this, brush number one round. Now I go back to my zero brush with the the green that we used here on the clothing. We can use that still to give that darker shade. And I'm starting here. Close to where Radha is seated. So that's giving me that section, and it is. I'm just adding this here, and I will use another brush to spread it out. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to use another brush to spread it out. I think I will use this brush to spread it out. Blend it in. Spread it out. So you see that it is shadow of her body. Ever so lightly, and you can, if you want to show it really bold, you can add a little bit more of burnt umber. Let's say I'm going to do it and show it to you. So I'm boldly going and filling that in like this, and then pushing the color to blend in with the rest of the olive green mixed with primary yellow or lemon yellow. You can keep on doing it until you feel satisfied with the, shading of it. And this, movement that I'm doing front and back, it's going to help in the blending process. So you see I have done that here, and I'm just darkening this section. Ever so lightly darkening the sections, the sides, and blending them in. Yeah. Yes. Can we do the same thing on this side now? Krishna's side. Again, I know that this is where the shade is falling off. So this is darker section. Again, we have darker section underneath his foot. The sides maybe are just highlighted but not too dark. This could be the darker section here. So even though we are blending it in, we still want to make a difference between the clothing and what we show here. Just be aware of that. So I am taking in burnt umber right away, and I'm going to blend everything together this time. So it's going to be slightly here and the base of it. Remember I said there is this base that I have missed. I wanted to show, yes. So the base of it is here. Okay, now I'm going to blend them in. Let's say keep moving ever so lightly. You still want to make that difference. And the depth comes along, That depth is a magic. It comes along. With practice, it just starts to show. And with layers, it it just starts shining along. Yeah. Yes, I think we have this base done. Fantastic. Okay. That's what we have here. And now I think it makes sense that we make a stop because the jewelry is going to take a while to work with, and it makes sense that we do it as another class in one go. Yeah. So I am moving this camera again. So we take a summary on what we have done so far. Lovely. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to just put you on a view from up through down. Right. So that's how they are looking right now, isn't it? So that's what we have reached so far in layer 4. So to summarize, we have continued on layer 4 today. We worked on the remaining garment area, especially Krishna's dhoti or pajama, and also Radha's blouse. We also did the base of the swing. Yeah, the base of the swing was also there for us to work. The base needed to have a bit of 3 dimension, which we did here. So we did that today. So what are we left with? We are left with the jewelry, accessories, and also the cloth. Every part of the cloth that has the edge also has some sort of gold to it that we'll have to work on. And that's one of the things. And then we have Krishna's. He usually likes to have a peacock feather on his crown. So that's one thing. So we have a lot of jewelry to work with. Once we are done with the jewelry, we also will have to work on the garland that we have. We haven't done much on the garland, so we'll have to work on that. And then we move on to the flowers on the swing. Flowers and the leaves in the swing. Yes, that's also something that we will have to work on. Let's see how far we can reach in the next class. Let's meet for the next class. Congratulations on reaching this far. Like I always say, share your thoughts, worries, comments, feedback, queries with me, also pictures with me on what we have done so far, what you have done, and especially if you need a kind of one-to-one session because you feel you're way off. If you're, let's say, if you're doing 15 to 20% here and there different, and you can always make up to it in another layer, or you want to redo some of those classes, that is perfectly all right. You can go ahead. Or if you're doing really very great, even better than what you have here, it's like, yeah, that's kudos to you. But if you think you're way off from this target, I think it's good that we could talk. It could also be because you chose different aspects, different color tonalities. So eh, there's a fine-tuned thing that I would like to address here, that if you have chosen very different color tonalities or very different angles or something like that, you check your own aesthetics and see if it makes good. It could be very different from what I have here. For example, the face I reworked. You could have chosen to retain the first ever, reference material. That's perfectly all right. But in spite of all that, If you think that picture is completely off board, then it makes sense that we have a one-on-one call and let me see if I could help you in your journey. Yes. So please write to support at theglazestudio.dk so we could have a conversation, plan a conversation together as well. Thank you very much for watching this for 20 classes means easily 20 hours or maybe more that you might have spent. Kudos, congratulations. I am so proud of you. See you in the next class. Bye bye.